What's up? What's up? Good evening, good afternoon. I don't know exactly what it is where you are, but good evening where I am. GM as always. Welcome back. It's kind of that time again. It's a little bit late, but you know how we do. We improvise a little bit as usual. So just want to say hello as always. Good to see everybody, and thank you for tuning in. If it's your first time, I am Tiny Universe. This is Tiny's Universe, and this is everything that you need to know about Macroverse and what's happening, what's going on. Um, for those of you that haven't been watching, we've got a ton of stuff that's happening, but one huge thing right now is going to be the pre-code horror release, and I can't wait to talk about that a little bit more. So, with that being said, Evan, my friend.
Boom. We're here. I
We
think
made
it's
it.
fair to say it is that time. We didn't say what time it is. It's this time to talk about what's going on. So I'm Evan Matthews, co-founder and CEO at Macroverse. Thank you for hosting, as always, Tiny. And if you're new to what we're up to, Macroverse is a next generation media, entertainment, comics company, building a bunch of things at the intersection of now physical and digital comics, with an incredible team that has been making all kinds of media for collectively now over 100 years. So we've done a bunch of stuff, but we've never been more excited than about the things that we're working on now. And the big thing that Tiny alluded to is our current active Kickstarter for Pre-Code Horror, which is the kind of ultimate collection of horror comics that are almost impossible to get your hands on outside of this particular collection. So we've painstakingly found, collected, gotten our hands on, wheeled and dealed, actually over 70 different individual comics in this collection. And then obsessively made them kind of back to their original state through a combination we like to call science, technology, art, and black magic. No AI, however, I will say.
I don't want to cut you off, but I do, just because I don't want to miss what you're talking about there. And you're talking about getting those books. And I saw a clip of many of those in a box, slabbed up, being, kind of shuffled through.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, this is the best part for me. I'm assuming every single one of those was cracked out of those slabs.
Yep, it had to be, because I mean the part that we don't mind talking about. There's a bunch of the process that is pretty much our own internal proprietary way of doing this that we've literally spent over 2 years figuring out how to fine tune and put together. But the starting point is acquiring all of these actual books, and so I think it's why we have been able to do this, where it's a real distinction from other reprints or reproductions or facsimiles that are out on the market, and that we're really, and when I say obsessively, I mean like levels of OCD obsessively, like bringing these things back to their original glory. And so that requires we actually custom built a scanning rig to be able to do these, where we're not destroying the books, where we're able to capture them at a just like insane level of detail and resolution. And then there's a whole bunch of ways that we've developed to be able to essentially reverse engineer them back to their original printer plates. And that is kind of the secret sauce, is that the process that we go through gets us back to a place where we can then print them the way that they were printed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so we're using period appropriate paper and printing techniques, and creating these things that are as close to jumping in a time machine and traveling 70 or 80 years back in the past as possible. I can't remember if we looked at these last week or not, but even if we did, I'll show them again. So this is our most recent printer proofs, just to fine tune the last little bit with the printer. and we've got a few different kind of variations of different things that we could make a kind of final call on around. I won't say what, a couple of different variations of how we could print them, and we've finalized all this at this point. But you can just see like even in this, I hope you can see like the level of detail and just the fact that we're keeping all the original print texture and coloring techniques. Like nothing's been recolored, but it's a fully pristine version of these books, which are at the very least prohibitively expensive to get your hands on. And even if you get your hands on them, you will never take them out and read them because they're very rare and very valuable. And so it's being able to bring this, collection of material back to people to be able to actually look at and read and really pour over the kind of snapshot in history of, what these were at a time when the comics industry was in its fledgling days, kind of flying by the seat of its pants. Yeah, anecdotally, we were just literally talking today as we were doing some of the pre-press to get this stuff ready to go to the printer. There's an era. There's a one of the series that we're doing is called Suspense Comics, which is one of these kind of seminal runs of this time. And because it's such an early time in comics publishing, you can just see that they're flying by the seat of their pants. Literally, 3 of the books in the run are different sizes than the other books in the run. And so, again, back to this obsessive level of detail, like we're actually, we made the call today. It's like, we want this to be as close to pulling it off the rack in that time as possible. So even in that case, like we're going to produce those 2 books slightly different sized than
going to be my question.
Are you going to honor the size? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's, it's like, and so I actually learned something today about that. I knew there were like golden age size comics, silver age size comics, modern age size comics. This is, these are considered, I think they're called super golden age.
Wow.
I might be missing that term up, but there's a little category, a little carve out for this period where there's almost no standardization. One issue might be 64 pages. The next issue might be 54 pages. So it is this kind of crazy moment where you can just, I just imagine the editors and the creators in the bullpen going like, what do we got this week or this month? They're like, we got 64 pages last week, got 54 pages this week. I don't know. Put them together. Send them to press. Go. Get them on the pen.
Oh, man. So
pretty wild. So yes, all of those books have been cracked. And then I will say, like, we will be re-slabbing them when we're done.
That's what I was gonna ask, and that's so disappointing. I feel like
well, but we're making the ultimate reader copies for us and for everyone else. So there's no need to expose several $100,000 worth of comics to further degradation.
My question was going to be like, who had the honor of cracking those? Because I know it's very difficult. Is that was done professionally?
In this case, it's not. Yeah, it's our head of publishing and the team that we put together. They are literally being handled with, not, I guess, white glove. They're being treated with the utmost care. So, they're.
Go ahead.
You said honor. We had an internal conversation about like, is it an honor or is it a curse? Because some of these things literally yeah. So that is not the responsibility that I want.
I'd be like, oh my God, here we go. Yeah. Oh, and then that's what I was gonna say. Like, then what? Like, what are they just bagged and boarded and like, But I guess
they're bagged and boarded, and then as we get done with them, they'll get back to their slabbed condition.
So then the big question is, who do you go with these days?
Still CGC is still very much the standard.
Yeah.
I know there are a couple of competitors, but if you're in the like rare comics value business, then it is still CGC.
Just curious. I've seen so much stuff out there now. There's another one that just is a little bit newer and seems like they're gaining some traction.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, what for anyone that's new to this or kind of catching up on this,
I think that might be an internet problem. I'm assuming he's going to talk about the. There we go.
I think I disappeared for a second.
You did.
Sorry about that. So there's over 70 books in the collection. There's many different. Oh no, I think I'm freezing again. Am I freezing again?
Not to me.
Tiny, can you hear me?
You're a little pixelated.
Okay, good. What else is new on this stream for some reason? So this is kind of your ultimate collection of pre-code horror books. There's again 6 days left in the Kickstarter. We're about to cross 300,000 in orders so far. And then the two things that I want to announce for anyone watching this, if you see this in the 6 days that are left, there are two unannounced things which you'll get kind of early alpha on here. So one is our next Authentic Editions project is coming very soon. So we're gonna essentially roll right from this one into the next one. We're in the we're in the late stages of kind of putting all the details. What am I trying to say? We're in the late stages of getting ready to launch that. So the next one, totally different genre, totally different style, but same incredible, meticulous attention to detail. And I think a collection that pairs very nicely with pre-code horror, but again, sort of a very different type of a book with its own rich history and its own kind of fascinating part of this fabric of pop culture and comics. So that's coming very soon. And we wanted to create something special for people that back this current Kickstarter to help, deliver some awesomeness and some thanks into the next one. So if you do back the current Kickstarter, there's going to be a exclusive issue in the next one that is only going to be available for backers of pre-code horror. And it's a very cool tie-in that we found that actually connects these two collections. So I'm quite excited about that. I think it's going to be a really cool thing that I'm sure someone has done, but I've never seen anyone do that on Kickstarter before. So I'm excited about it.
Are all these first printings, are they going to be collector's editions?
Yeah, so at least for the time being, I think we're going to follow a similar template. And part of what we've had to figure out with this is in all of the R&D, it's like, it's not inexpensive to get a hold of these books to begin with. We also want to make them as accessible as possible for the largest number of people as possible. But we also know that we're dealing with something where we had no expectation that we were going to launch this and sell 10,000 copies of every issue. Like, we know there's a collector's audience for this, and then some crossover into some number of people that are like, oh, these are cool, I didn't know this, or this is kind of interesting. But the vast majority of the people that are picking them up right now are certainly comic collectors. And so, we felt like it made sense to like really organize this for that, and then look at over the next 6, 12, 18 months, how can we kind of continue to expand out from there. But it's also really important that what we do in the Kickstarter is special and kind of unique, to the people that back the Kickstarter. So, we do not have any existing plans to just take the stuff that's in the Kickstarter and immediately, roll it out into, traditional retail or anything like that. Like, this is meant to be like a, exclusive kind of collectible opportunity to get a hold of these things. And then we'll continue to kind of look at how else can we make the material available to people, but in a different way, not just the, kind of here's the same thing again. So we're still figuring out kind of what that strategy is, talking to some partners and, some other people that are kind of advising on some of this stuff, to help figure that out. But I think for the time being, like we'll kind of follow this similar template. And then the other thing, which is a little bit of alpha, is we'll announce a lot more detail around this, but there is going to be something you can do with the physical books once they arrive in your hands that I'm not going to say exactly what it is yet, but is a real bonus for everyone that gets the physicals. And so I am also excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I don't know. I mean, I doubt there's even a copy really that exists hardly that's like white pages and.
Oh no, definitely not.
You know, like, I mean, that's just, it's going to be mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely not. And not only that, I mean, not only do they not exist in this condition, but also, again, it's fascinating as we've talked to people as the campaign has been live and, gotten a lot of interactions with people across socials. Really great questions, by the way. Like, people have been so positive about this and have asked really good questions and like have gotten really into the weeds of like, are they being, I mean, one little fun fact is like a bunch of these books were printed either during or right after World War II. And so because there were steel shortages, there's a number of these that only had one staple when they were initially released.
Wow.
And so that is one area where we are
right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle. And so that is one area. That's one of the few places where we've like, okay, we're not gonna go the completely authentic route here, and we're gonna give them a second staple.
Wow.
So that they don't just fall apart in your hands like I'm sure they did, originally. Yeah. But just fascinating little things like that, and a couple of people that have even asked about that specifically. One person that asked about yes, we're printing these on kind of an equivalent to newsprint from the era, but what about the acid content? Because so many of these books have degraded not just because of time, but because there is actual acid in that paper that literally eventually will dissolve it to dust. And so the newsprint that we've sourced, actually does not have that acid in it. So these will last a lot longer, just by nature of that. So I'm excited. I'm really happy with where these are coming out. I cannot wait for people to get them in their hands. Like I think this is, to me, like being able to prove that we were, number one, to see that we were right, that there was an audience and a demand for this has been incredibly rewarding. And so it really makes me feel very grateful for everyone that's, backed the campaign and participated and been a part of this, all along the way. But at the same time, like, then it's, feeling like, okay, now we've kind of proven this is possible and that there's an interest in this. Now I just cannot wait for people to get them in their hands. And I don't want to be too cocky about it, but having now held these last kind of printer samples, I think people are just gonna lose their minds. I really do. Like, I think that the Kickstarter is one thing, and then I think when you actually hold these books and see what they look like and feel like and smell like, it's just, I think it's gonna be something that I mean, I hope I'm right about this, so we can revisit this video if I'm wrong. But I think you're really seeing like a new category being born out of this. And if we're right about that, we've got 10 years of plans for what that looks like over time. So,
I mean, for me, as a collector, especially like as a collector and a reseller, it kind of is like breaking that barrier of like your traditional original copy versus a facsimile versus, like you said, now essentially a new category that kind of combines the two of them. I mean, you can't call it, I mean, it is, you're calling it a facsimile, but to me, it's like I said, I mean, it's a thing of its own. I mean, it doesn't have that same feeling.
It's an authentic edition. We just have to teach people what that is.
That's it. No, It's insane, and I can't wait to hold it and read it. Have you seen now? I know you've held like the paper stock. Have you seen like the actual covers and everything?
Yeah, a little bit. So what's happening behind the scenes right now is we actually go to press next week with a full book. So this will be the first one. Like, we've done all the pieces. This will be the first one that we actually like fully assemble, and is the final check with the printer and everything else to make sure like this is 100% what we need it to be and want it to be. So that we're doing a print run of 100 of those. So we expect these to be kind of a fun little collector's item in and of themselves that we're largely using internally, but there may be times where we go like, oh, let's give one of these away for some purpose, or do something fun in the community to share some of these, because I think just another kind of little snapshot of the history and the artifact of the time is very cool. So that's our next step, and then we're preparing everything to go like for the full print run will happen within a couple of weeks of closing the Kickstarter campaign. So we're kind of getting everything prepared for that as well. But
awesome.
It's cool.
So how many different parts are there between the books and the boxes and the shipping boxes? Like, I mean, that's all
so many parts. Yeah, I mean, one of the things we had to do is like really get into the logistics of not just how to make the books, but then how to fulfill the different packages. And I think I may be frozen again. Can you hear me, Tiny?
Yeah. Oh no, you're good.
All right. I think my internet is acting up. Matt, hello. I see you. Actually, Matt, if you're still watching, I'm going to send you an invite link I'm going to actually make it public. So if anybody wants to join and chat, we'll have you. So that just went on YouTube and Facebook on this stream, if anybody wants to pop in. Anyway, Matt Stevens, artist of digital pools and many other awesome things. What was I saying? So yeah, so there's not just the how do you make these things. Then when you get to like how do you actually get them to people, then we've got so many books and so many packages of configurations that we had to really get into finding the right partner to be able to manage just the logistics of how do you take these 15 books from these different series and put them into this particular box, and then how does that get delivered safely? And so it's been this whole process, over the last year. Like, this is what we've been doing, is like just figuring out one piece at a time how to build this machine. And I'm sure we'll continue to fine tune it. I know we'll continue to fine tune it as we do more of these collections, but it's literally people. This part is literal white glove. So the fulfillment partners that we have, like, they manage the inventory. They have a whole team that has done this, not so much with comics, but with other kinds of collectibles. And so we had to have a whole conversation with them about how to handle comics, and we're actually probably going to go and supervise the initial packing. But their team literally will be there, white gloves, pulling the books, making sure that all the corners are properly taken care of. Those will get bagged and boarded. Then the bagged and boarded comics will go into the collectible boxes that we created. Those collectible boxes go into another box, and then that box actually goes into the shipping box with additional packing. So it's a little bit of a Russian doll that people are going to receive at the end of the day. But we know it's really important that when you get something like this, that it be delivered in as perfect shape as it possibly can be. We want to see a lot of people's bookshelves, full of authentic editions and pre-code horror.
I know, that's like
in a couple months' time, that is exactly what you'll be seeing right there.
I'm excited to see, because I know what the second from top tier sold out already, which was 70 books. So I mean,
that one was 70, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of those. I mean, I'm excited to see those bigger sets up and how people display them.
Yeah. Well, I talked about this early on. I don't think we mentioned it in the last couple of streams, but we definitely intentionally and devilishly designed all of the box sets to connect into one image. So if you do get the full collection, like it becomes this really awesome display of how this the different essentially spines of the boxes all connect into one big kind of montage illustration. And then if you have the individuals, they look great also, but it is definitely designed to all pair nicely together.
Yeah, no, it does look good. You can see, I know, at least on the Kickstarter, on each different segment, it shows the kind of the boxes stuck together. But man, no, they look good.
Exactly.
And I'm excited to see, with all the add-ons and stuff, how they come out. Because I mean, you can't see all that detail and stuff anyway.
Oh, sorry. I think you broke up a little bit. You can't see what?
You can't see all the detail, like on the picture and the Kickstarter. You can even if you add the detail of like all those add-ons. I don't know that you would be able to like really visually see it as well as like I'm just excited for every aspect of it. I mean, I don't know, the big one, I mean, the big one for me is I want to see the blood red covers, the blood moons. Those to me are I'm like fascinated. I think is I've never
they're gonna be cool.
I don't think I've ever like really seen a red foil. I mean, there's a couple that are kind of close, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely curious.
Yeah, they're going to be cool. I mean, the red foil was another thing we knew we wanted to do and then had to kind of figure out how to source it. But it's the benefit of having an amazing printing partner for this too, is he's been able to help us go like, we want to do this. And he's like, okay, let me go figure that out. Which is a really nice thing. So
about 6 days left there. And you said you'll be rolling pretty much straight into the next one. What's going on the other end as far as like mixed print? Because I know we were talking before. I got my first 4 copies of the Gun Honey, or which one is it? It's
Heat Seeker.
So
what we're talking about, switching gears, what we're talking about is Titan Comics just released issue 1 of a series that their most popular internal series. So they publish Conan and Blade Runner and all kinds of awesome licensed stuff, but they have an internal series called Gun Honey, which is kind of a sexy James Bond style series. And then there's a spinoff from that called Heat Seeker. And so what we're talking about is we produced a special cover for this first issue of the latest Heat Seeker series, and then we'll be doing the rest of the issues in this series, and then going on to some other stuff with them as well. So not spoiler warning, not safe for work warning. If there are kids or anyone that doesn't want to see a little not safe for work, turn away or pause the stream for a second. I'll try to strategically use my thumb as well.
I'm gonna come right back to it.
Yeah, probably so. So anyway, these are what they look like in the store. They're blind bags. Yeah. So what's kind of cool is it's almost like trading cards for comics too. You don't know what you're gonna get. And the cool thing about this approach is, another kind of cool technology that we do.
There he goes again. So the other cool technology would be essentially that every single one of those covers, or there was another project that we did in the past for Cypress Hill, but every single one of those is going to be a different cover. So very similar art and some different traits and different things like that, characteristics, but there are no duplicates. So every single one of those blind bags will be different. And I don't know how many people know that yet. We lost you. So
you lost me. How much did you see?
Well, you stopped right at basically saying what the technology is.
Okay, yeah. So basically this allows us to create one of X, so of anything that's printed, and so basically we can create a unique variation for an infinite number of printed products. And so it's actually pretty complicated and cutting edge, because typically when you go to press, it's prohibitively expensive. Like prior to this, you would spend like $10 per thing just to print it, because you have setup and printer plates and all of that. So we created a way with the printer to be able to do this infinite variation. So every cover that was released, there's 3,000 of them in issue 1, is a unique variation. And so as I'm going to strategically kind of use my fingers for a little cover up here, but you can see like the basic cover art here is the same. So it's the same character, it's the same pose, it's the same setting, but then each cover is a unique, has a unique set of elements and assets, no pun intended, to then create a completely different look and feel.
Those are so cool.
So really cool. So like different hairstyles, different accessories,
different weapons, different boots,
different weapons, and in this case, like because of the nature of the material, different levels of undress or dress.
No, my big question is, because I haven't seen one yet, and this is going to be another kind of like pun on content. Are these all virgin covers, or?
Yeah, so they're all virgin covers except for a handful that we intentionally included the logo in. So it's not the same as the logo that's printed on the actual books. I like these kind of ice cold ones.
See, this makes me just want to put up my last two, because they're all
so I'll do this, but so you can see like this one has the logo in it, but we built it in so that any that do have the logo, and we kept the percentage actually pretty low, so the logo versions are kind of relatively rare, but those
now
those are but those are made so that they reflect the aesthetic of the cover. It's not just slapped on the top of it or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've only looked at those 5, but of course I got to see hundreds of them in the process of making them, and the number of combinations and the variations just really get very cool. And then the other thing which we did with this one, and then also in batch number 2, which is just going off to the printer, is I just couldn't help myself. I made probably 30 or 40 that are just kind of completely custom crafted by me. So I will never be able to tell you which ones those are at this point. But they're
so disappointing, because I was going to say, like, what if I got one and just opened it up? I made that.
You know what I'm gonna do? All right, this will be a little secret. I can't do it on issue 2 because that's already gone off to the press. But I did that on issue 2 also. There's probably 15 or 20 of them that are custom built by me. So on issue 3 and 4, and then on from here, I'll find some little something to hide in the one that I do myself, and then we can have a little treasure hunt. The other thing, which is going to be pretty fun, so there's another little bit of alpha. There's not going to be a ton that you're going to be able to do with this at this stage, but I think there will be more we can do with it later. But we're going to release the percentages of traits, essentially. So we'll have a little sheet that shows, like, even if it's at a high level, like the bluish ones versus the more film looking ones versus the noir ones, which you got one of. So people at least get to have a sense of, like, within the batch of 3,000, like, how rare are these different particular, traits or elements. So I think that'll be kind of fun. And then, I'm sure for my own, curiosity, I want to know, like, which one is the rarest. And,
right. I mean, I feel like You gotta know.
So, so we did, as we were making them all, like we kept track of all of the different rarity
That's
tier,
cool.
Traits. So then now we just have to kind of crunch the numbers.
I was gonna ask if there was record of like those 3,000, like what those covers were. And I mean, we talked about this before the stream started, but outside of just this cover F, there's a lot of other covers that are all phenomenal. I mean, they all look incredible. But I think out of all of them, these almost look like more like painted. Like they have a really artistic feel to them, rather than just kind of like a hot comic chick with I feel like some of the covers are just more kind of showing off the female rather than like really having that cool artistic style to it. So I don't know, I was super pleased because I didn't.
It's a good way to elevate it. Yeah, I like that take. But no, I will say, I mean, the artist on these is a guy named Brow, and he's a really cool dude and super talented. And like we've been working with him. He and I have been working together on figuring out like what all the elements are. And I will give him 99% of all the credit for that. But it's been fun to be able to kind of think, we could add these different things. And part of what I'm always thinking about is like foreground, middle ground, background. And so how do you create, different variations that play on different planes so that you get a lot more variation in the final image than just what shoes is she wearing. So it's been a lot of fun to figure out how to try to make it more connected to a story and less just about, paper dolls.
Yeah. So that's kind of my point. I mean, there's so much more just looking at it. I mean, there's more feeling to it. Like there's more color, there's more background. It's just totally different feel. Like you said, I mean, again, like everything I've seen has been like those virgin covers. So it doesn't have the logo splashed on there. It doesn't have your issue number or anything like that. I mean, it's just super cool, pretty covers.
Well, and the way they did it, which initially I wasn't sure about, but I think it really is what it did turn out cool. So you've got this as the outside cover, and then there's actually a second cover, which is Brow's original piece of artwork. Which
I noticed that. Now on mine, it was only the back cover.
Oh, interesting.
So like when I open the hardcover of the mixed print, it just goes straight to. Well, inside it has almost like a splash page of words. But
you'll have to show me that because you might have a misprint if that's the case. A misprint, mixed print if that's.
So yeah, no. There's a back cover inside that has a barcode and the actual back page, but there's no like inside cover.
Interesting. Yes, you'll have to show me that one more.
I'm sure that I looked inside the second one because I figured that was the same.
Yeah.
So the other one, I have one.
Right, I don't know. We'll answer that question. We'll leave people wondering and answer that question.
Now I'm wondering. I'm like, interesting.
And I think the other thing, we'll kind of start to wrap up, but I think the other thing, just to let people know, we talked a little bit about this in more detail last week. So if you want more on this, revisit that episode. But we are still on track to open up the beginnings of Macroverse version 3 on the platform side at some point in December. So if you are interested in being a early adopter, beta tester, someone that doesn't mind, kind of seeing things happen in real time. Like this is a chance to actually kind of come along for the same ride that we're going on as we build out, some new features and things that we're working on the platform side. It's also a chance to get in early and get your username, which, is always kind of a fun thing to do. So before somebody snaps up, before Tiny has to be Tiny Universe -1.
It wouldn't be the first time. I wonder, like, who is that? Like, why did they do that? They don't even know what that means.
Yeah. So I will say, like, we're starting with a simple set of core features with a very robust roadmap coming behind it. And so we've kind of broken out the next 12 months of development into really focusing on like what are the infrastructure pieces that we need to have in place to be able to build a bunch of really cool stuff. And so, like so many of the things that we've talked about, it's going to feel like it's happening a little slower, and then it's all going to happen very quickly as we kind of get to a little further down the road.
I mean, that's how I feel with the Kickstarter. I don't have time to even think, and we're talking about going into another one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's good.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. We'll do a quick shout out for anyone that's following us on Drip House. If you're not following us on Drip House, I definitely would recommend it. Drip is a very cool digital collectibles platform. We just crossed 200,000 subscribers on there on the Macroverse channel. The latest Vogu drop is live from us a couple days ago. We do have a new Macroverse drop coming on there over the next day or so. It's actually supposed to go out today, but I did not have time to get it out. So it's all uploaded. You'll probably see that in your feed there over the next day or so. And then we have everything for the next DMC drop there as well. Phenomenal artwork. I mean, they all have been, but just another one that's just a slam dunk. And so that will happen next week, and I can't wait for people to see that. Also, a shout out to Digital Pools on Drip as well. So Matt was here in the chat for a minute, didn't join us, bad Matt. And they have a channel on Drip as well, which is doing really well. So they've put out several episodes of several issues of Digital Pools there, which is all looking awesome. And then our longtime friend and collaborator Jason Brubaker also has a Drip channel, and he's been releasing playing cards.
Playing cards. They're pretty cool.
They're really cool and tie into his series called Phobos, which is another great one. So lots of really cool stuff happening on Drip House. Super easy to get involved and get started. Just start picking up some collectibles and art from people that you like. It's best described in my mind as Pokemon card collecting meets Instagram. Again, just super easy to jump in, no cost, no requirement to do anything to get started. And then if you find yourself wanting to get things that are a little more higher tier or support more creators, you're able to do that with what Drip uses as droplets, which is kind of like their own Robux or V-Bucks or anything like that. There's a lot of great talent on there, and I've gotten to know a bunch of the creators, and just a very cool experiment and ecosystem as kind of a new take on social media meets collecting meets creator economy. It's like very, very interesting and cool.
Has the app
so
come
anyway,
out yet?
New stuff coming out on Drip.
Have they dropped that?
I've got the beta of the app. I'm not sure.
It's not there yet. Yeah,
There's a beta version of the mobile app. Yeah. So I've been playing with that. I know they're doing some other changes, behind the scenes as well. So I'm not sure if that's delayed, the app a little. But it's definitely fun, and it's a great, it's been a great place for us to connect with other people. The other little secret, which is not so much of a secret unless you just don't know that we're doing this, but the things that we're releasing on Drip will have some utility, for lack of a better word, some impact in some of the stuff that we do next year in some other areas as well. So it's again, very easy, low cost way to kind of get a foothold into the larger Macroverse ecosystem. And then we'll have some fun with that in a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you missed the beginning, the whole Drip takeoff, you can go back and probably buy everything for $20.
Exactly. Yeah.
Secondary is it's not overwhelmingly expensive. There's stuff available, and it's really not hard. I mean, it's all self-explanatory. So I don't know. It was exciting for me. It still is. I'm on there not quite as much as I was, but like I said, I got on there today and secured a bunch of stuff. And I love going through all the Macroverse stuff, the Digital Pool stuff, all the full episodes. I
Yeah.
love flipping through those. So, I mean,
Me too.
I encourage everybody.
Definitely encourage everybody. It's a lot of fun. All right, so I think that kind of brings us to the end. Sorry for the internet issues tonight, but I see we've got 54 people watching live, so appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. We will be back same-ish time next.
There he goes again. Same-ish time, same channel. We'll see if he comes back before we actually. Well, you know what? He's got to come back before we cut because I can't cut it right now. So we'll see what happens. Maybe a couple minutes here. But no, I do thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It seems like just about every time we have some sort of hiccup here, but one of these days between Restream and internet, we will get it all sorted out. Eben. May not come back. I might just have to cut it. I don't know how we're going to end this. And you guys might get a black screen. Love you guys. Next week, more info, same-ish time. And thank you all. Bye.
Oh, we're back. We might be back. Let's see. I think I lost Tiny, but I'll get some. I got my camera back on so we can wrap it up. It looks like we've just reconnected. Just a moment. Let's see if this will show back up. So if you've managed to hang on this long, number one, thank you. Having internet problems this evening unexpectedly. But it looks like we're still alive, or it's saying we're still alive. So just to wrap up, we will be back. Yeah, it's not going to give me camera back. So we'll be back around the same time next week. Find me on all the socials at Ebenverse. Find Macroverse at Macroverse on Twitter /X at Macroverse HQ. Everywhere else, feel free to pop into the Discord, discord.gg/Macroverse. And check out the Kickstarter. Search for pre-code horror on Kickstarter, and you'll certainly find that there. So I hope everyone has a wonderful night. I am a black screen. There we go. All right. I am ending the